सब छोड़ के फिक्र में गुजरता रहा लम्हा दर लम्हा, तेरे साथ दुनिया थी वो रहा तन्हा का तन्हा। तेरी फिक्र में गुजरता रहा लम्हा दर लम्हा, तेरे साथ दुनिया थी वो रहा तन्हा का तन्हा। आंसू मिले देखा था जो पलकों को भी निचोड़ के, तेरी राह में लेकर खुशी वो है खड़ा हर मोड़ पे सब छोड़ के। भूला जिसे तुझको वो याद करता रहा।
You are listening to WDUR 1490 AM, Durham, Raleigh, Chapel Hill, your 24-hour free South Asian radio. Keep listening.
Attention.
1490.
Music.
Salam namaste, bajao, gana bajao, 1490 AM. Suno, gana sunao, 1490 AM.
1490.
Music full to masti only on WDUR 1490 AM, your 24-hour free South Asian radio.
Let's dance on, let's move on, let's hit the floor, let's move.
भी मस्ती भी only on WDUR 1490 AM your 24-hour free South Asian radio.
Hello and welcome to Insights with Experts. I'm your host today, Ashi, and we have Lakshmi Challa with us again this afternoon. She's going to be following up on a little bit of what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. She has a few updates for us. So welcome to the show, Mrs. Challa, and we have a few questions that our readers have sent, and then I have a couple of people who will be calling in as well. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashi. It's always good to spend Saturday afternoon with you guys.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful day today here.
It is, and it's nice here as well. I think hopefully we've seen the last of the cold and the snow.
Every time somebody says that, next thing we know, there's another snowstorm coming.
We're going to have a blizzard next week. Exactly.
I know, right? I was afraid to say that to jinx it. Good. Well, so you said you had a few updates for us. I know there were some laws that were going to be passed, and I said before the 10th of May, I think you said you were going to find out something else. Yeah.
Well, since I talked to you guys last, I had learned of a couple of students. Someone brought it to my attention that they were here on an F1, and because they were concerned about the OPT rules, they actually committed suicide.
Oh, yes.
So I thought it was important again to emphasize that the problem with the OPT issues on extension did not impact the regular OPT. That was when people could get 1 year after they graduate. That was never impacted at all. The only thing that was impacted was the OPT STEM, which is an additional 17 months that was provided. And the reason why a court stayed that in the summer was because when immigration issued the STEM OPT for 17 months and employers who enroll in E-Verify, they did not follow, notice and comment as required by law. So you have to, whenever an agency is issuing new regulations, they have to publish those regulations and give, stakeholders an opportunity to comment on those regulations. Because they didn't do that, because immigration didn't do that, the court found that they did not follow the correct procedures. So they put a stay on the STEM OPT till early 2016. In the interim, what the agency USCIS did was they issued notice and comment. So they published and when they published the regulations, they, instead of just giving 17 months, they added 24 months. So that's a total of 3 years, 36 months for STEM holders who have an employer that enroll in E-Verify. But the final regulations, so they weren't able to put the final regulations together by early 2016. So the agency went back to the court and said, can you give us an extension? So the court granted them an extension till May 10th. And May 10th, we should see the regulations. So STEM OPTs should have the ability to extend, and they will get an additional 2 years. They did put some additional obligations on top of the employers who are going to hire these STEM OPTs. In addition to the enrolling in E-Verify, they have to make certain attestations about perhaps training and the fact that they're not displacing U.S. workers. So that's a really exciting thing for students, and they shouldn't get disheartened. Good news is on the way.
Oh, that's always a good thing to know, and any kind of good news. And it's kind of terrifying to know that somebody actually would go through such drastic measures after hearing about visa. But I think they can always call you, right, or email with any questions if they have.
Yes, any question.
सॉरी फॉर इंटरप्टिंग आशी, एक हमारे साथ कॉलर भी हैं जो अभी जुड़े हैं, तो शायद उनके कुछ सवालात हैं, तो
हेलो हेलो हाय लक्ष्मी.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? So nice to have you here.
Good. No, I love spending my time with Ashi, so this gives me a good opportunity to answer questions and spend time with a dynamic woman.
That's
great. Thank you. So, is this Varun?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Wayne. You had a question? I know you had called earlier as well, but we had to ask you to give us a call back.
No,
so
no.
You have,
No.
Yeah. So you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. This is regarding my wife's situation. So she got her H1 last year, and it's a consulate processing. So she went back to India and got it stamped and entered USA on Jan 1st this year. But so this H1 was through a consultancy, and when she came back on Jan 1st, they didn't have a job for her. So they said she can continue searching for the job, and they gave a time of 45 days to find a job. And they said if in 45 days we cannot find a job, then they asked us to apply for H4 so that they will keep the H1 active without withdrawing it. So I applied for H4 again on February 15th, which is 45 days after she is on H1. And so I got the receipt number. So I filed H4 through I-539 change of status form, and I got the receipt number for that as well. So now my question is, so if we find a job, so how much time it would take for her to go back to H1 again? And will applying this H4, will it affect the already approved H1 which she has already? No. And do they have to revoke it when I apply H4?
Well, there's, your question is, I guess there's three answers that I want to highlight. Number one, because she was on an H-1B previously, if you want to, and she's currently on an H-4, if she wants to change status back to an H-1B so she can be work authorized, she would have to file a change of status form on the I-129 and change, back to H-1B. Luckily, you can do that premium processing. Unlike the I-539, with the H-1B, you can file for premium processing, and they will adjudicate it within 15 days. That is probably what you want to do. You want to file at premium processing because now regular processing is taking an unbelievably long time. I think it's, a little over 6 months. So you'd want to file at premium processing. Now, the other question you asked is, go ahead.
Yeah, and so is there any difference between filing a H4 and getting a receipt number and having the H4 approved? I mean,
yes. So what's probably going to happen is if she finds a job sooner rather than later, I-539, the good thing is as long as you file, there is a period while it's pending that her status is told. That means she's in that transitional period from H-1B to H-4. Now, because they also, I-539s take a long time and there's no premium processing for I-539s, it may be that if she finds a job earlier rather than later, while that's in process, you'll end up filing for a change of status back to H-1B. Instead of, there are two ways in which you can change your status. You can either file a change of status in the United States, or you can go outside the U.S. and make a reentry. So the other thing is, especially because premium processing is $1,225 in addition to everything else. What she could do is maybe if she knows that a project is coming up, go out of the country. I wouldn't suggest, anytime you go to Canada, there's always this risk and there's a lot of scrutiny nowadays, but make a trip home. She's already got her H-1B stamp, and then she just makes a reentry.
But that H-1B would be for a different client and different location, right?
Right. So they would have to file an amended petition. But the good news is, the amended petition doesn't have to be approved. It just has to be filed. Now, because she's not currently here on an H-1B, they could file the amended petition. She could go overseas, take a copy of that receipt notice and the documents supporting her new work site, all the documents that you need for the new work site. And when she enters, she shows them her H-1B. She shows the receipt notice for the amended petition, and she shows all the supporting documentation.
Okay, got it.
So she doesn't
And can we file the amendment here itself and join the company with just the receipt numbers while the H4 to H1 is in progress?
Well, they would probably have to file a change of status. She has to change her status here in the U.S. in order to change from H4 to H1B. Because you've got that change of status, because you've got that I-539 pending.
Right.
And
so,
then a lot of times,
okay.
the other issue with that is a lot of times if you've already got one application in process, like a change of status to H4 to H1B, and you're filing to get back on the H1B again, there are adjudicators that will not give you a decision on the change of status to H1B until the I-539 is approved, right? So that's why it is probably better to actually leave the country and come back in because it's quicker. When she leaves the country, the I-539 is effectively abandoned. So, you don't have to worry about that application pending. And they file the amended petition in the U.S., and she comes in with the receipt notice and all the supporting documents for the amended petition.
Okay, and this H1 amendment, that should be filed before she leaves USA or after she leaves USA?
It can be either. She just needs to have that receipt notice in hand. And, with the H-1B season coming up, during that time, receipt notices take, it's going to take some time once the cap hits for issuance of receipt notices. So that may delay, the ability to get the receipt notice. But, depending on how much time she can spend outside the United States and, when she gets the job, that would dictate, at what point they would file it. But the critical thing is she needs the receipt notice and the supporting documents when she reenters.
Okay, having said all this, but
I think we have a few more callers calling in right now. So did she answer most of your questions? So I think we need to give some of the callers.
And Varun, you can send me an email at info@challalaw.com if you've got any additional questions.
I'll do that.
@challalaw.com.
Yes, sure, I'll do that.
All right, great. Thank you so much for calling, Varun.
Thank you, Lakshmi.
Sure.
Thank you. Good luck.
आशी मैं यही हूँ, मैं कहीं नहीं जाता. आप लोग जब दोनों आते हो तो मैं चुपचाप बैठा रहता हूँ और सब सुनते रहता हूँ. तो देखते हैं कोई और कॉलर अगर जी.
Oh, I thought you said you already had a few callers that were calling in, so.
नहीं, अभी जैसे ही मुझे कोई कॉलर आता है मैं बीच में वापस इंटरप्ट करूंगा आपको. सॉरी उसके लिए, पर कॉल आएगा तो मैं आपको जरूर बता दूंगा.
Okay, great. So, Mr. Challa, we were just going over the final points that you're making about the OPTs and not to be disheartened. Any other suggestions or anything you have in particular for the students?
No, I think that's great news for the students is that, they'll be able to continue working on the OPT. And, another issue that has come up, I've been going around universities recently and talking to students, especially because the CAP April 1st is coming up soon. And so one of the questions that a lot of the students have is there's certain organizations that are exempt from the H-1B cap. And so they were looking to find out about those organizations. They're called cap-exempt organizations. And cap-exempt organizations are, all universities that are accredited are cap-exempt. And nonprofits and governmental agencies that are affiliated with an academic institution, and where there's an affiliation agreement, and where the education and research mission of the institution is furthered by these students' activities, are also cap exempt. So, that's another thing that the students can be looking out for as they, venture into transition from student status to work status.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Sorry, I was just typing up notes as you were saying as well, so I can follow up later if somebody has a question. But are you going to be speaking locally in the North Carolina area or any of the universities or colleges here?
Well, we have to answer any questions you may have.
Right, and then we'll definitely have you back on air soon again. So I'm sure people will call. So
that'll be great. I love hanging out with the two of you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, you all have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. And
You too.
आपको छोड़े जाते हैं गाने के साथ. गाना है फिल्म. मतलब फिल्म तो क्या करना, बाकी आवाज से थे आप एंजॉय कीजिए इस गाने को. गाना है आतिफ असलम की आवाज में. ये है मर जाइए.